We just thought, given the announcements that we've had recently in the press, and there's been a few blog posts out there around self-serve purchasing as part of the new commerce experience, that we'd spend a few minutes just going through, just setting the record straight about what it actually is, when it's actually affecting us, and actually what's taking place. And I'll be honest, I don't have a hell of a lot of detail, but I'm going to try and set the record straight on some of those key concern areas that we've heard and why we're doing this. So I guess the first piece is, what is self-service? So self-service essentially, in a nutshell, is a capability for a customer to be able to go into the tenant, so through the Microsoft 365 admin portal, and purchase licenses for themselves. It is limited in the first instance to Power Apps, and it's the ability for them to then manage that themselves through their license portal without the need to go through the administration process they might have internally. Now, in the first instance, this might seem like a crazy idea because the admins want control of it, and I'll talk a bit more about the control aspect in a second. But today, as it currently stands, we know these purchases go on anyway. They're going on via credit card, they go on via their own tenants, they do separately when they're trying to do pieces of work. They do go on separately outside of the company tenant today. This is fundamentally an ability for the admin to be able to see when those purchases happen because they'll be going on through that business tenant. So when we look at actually the scope of this, the first thing I want to just really highlight is this isn't coming to the UK in the first instance. So this is launching in the US only on the 14th of January, and it will be predominantly, to begin with, it will be for Power BI Pro. It will come to Power Apps straight after that, and then it will come to Power Automate, which is the new terminology for Flow, if anyone's seen Ignite yesterday. So I updated that this morning. And that will be the next products it starts to come to. Now, it will start to come to other geos as well at the same time as coming to other products. But at the moment, we don't have a date on the UK, so we will update you when that happens. So just to set that record straight, because I know the blog post kind of indicated this was coming all quick and fast, it is US only to begin with. The other things to make you aware of is that when a user goes to make this purchase, they are purchasing per user, and it is month-to-month purchasing via the WebDirect portal. So it is set by the customer agreement terms that any customer who buys direct off our self-serve portal sees today. That's also the same price point, so it won't automatically link into any agreements the organisation has. It will link to the self-serve pricing that is via the website. When they make these purchasing, they will flag through the admin centre to the admin. So the idea of this is, this will hopefully highlight needs for the organisation across the globe where the admin might see, okay, in the UK there's been an influx of purchasing for Power Apps. It might highlight that need quicker than today, the way they go through the constant process. Now obviously when that then highlights them through the admin centre, they can then contact that user and say, hey, we know you want this licence. Do you realise we already have these under agreement? Did you follow the correct procedure? But the other key thing to note is that when a user purchases one of these licenses, it's their own responsibility to manage and pay for that license. It's not the organisation's. So therefore, if they've purchased this outside of the purchasing mechanism within their organisation, it's down to them to pay for it. And if the organisation doesn't sign off that purchase, that's also down to them. But the admin will be aware that that purchase has gone on. The other thing that you'll be pleased to know, thanks to the feedback that we received off some of the blog posts, which we initially launched around this, we are also bringing capabilities in for the admin to turn this off. So the admin will be able to nominate which products are available for them to purchase through the self-serve mechanism, and they'll be able to turn off any products which they don't want to be available through this. And that will be done via PowerShell, the PowerShell documentation is due to be launched in the next couple of weeks. But the key thing is, for any admins that are panicking, they will be able to turn this feature off via that PowerShell, and it will be by product. So obviously initially this is only Power Apps and Power BI, so the customer, the organisation, the admin can then put in policy to monitor this before allowing it to be sold via the self-serve mechanism. This is also, as you can imagine, for commercial managed tenants in the first instance, so US commercial managed tenants, but we envisage that when this comes to the UK, it will also be for commercial in the first instance, as we do with a lot of our updates. We land it with commercial first, and then we look to do it with government and academic at later dates. Key things from the FAQ that I just wanted to pull out. So management of these licenses is where you'd expect it to be. It's under billing, products and services in the admin center. So at any point the admin can go in there and see these purchases going on. Like I said, gives them the opportunity then to see where this demand is coming from and approach those users. If an organisation doesn't need the licenses they've already purchased, of course, the user can then cancel it. There is the cool-down window. The admin can reach out to them and say, hey, we've already got these licenses. We've got them for a certain price if they have them. If they don't, they can then talk about having it through the correct procurement procedure. A partner can also manage these licenses in the way you would expect it today. So as long as you've got the correct role access to the admin center, you will still be able to log into the Microsoft 365 admin center on behalf of your customer and also see those purchases going on, so you can then advise them if they haven't noticed that those purchases are there. And the last bit, I know I mentioned this before, but I just want to really highlight it because it is in the FAQ. The key here is that the person who's responsible for payment of those licenses is the users that purchased them, not the organization. So if the organisation doesn't authorise that purchase, it will be very clear when the user is making that purchase that it's their responsibility to pay for that licence, it's their responsibility to manage that licence. So if it does get flagged to the admin and the admin says, hey, we don't authorise that, you didn't follow the correct procedure, it is the responsibility of the user who purchased that licence to then pay for that and manage it. So as I mentioned, there's a lot of detail obviously lacking here, and there's a lot of detail we're still going to bring out about this. The PowerShells are due to be released literally in the next week or so, so as soon as we have them, we'll release that documentation to you. We still don't have a date on UK launch yet, so we will also keep you updated on that. But as we said, over the next coming months, after this rolls out on January the 14th to the US, we will then see more products and also more countries or more geos made available for this as well. But we will share these decks anyway, so you will have these key FAQs. There is a partner FAQ which we'll make sure is in the resources slide of this deck, so you can see that as well. It's got a lot more detail than what I've covered here, so there are some key questions answered in there around management and seeing that. Yeah.
So we're running a little bit early, so I thought before we go break for lunch, I just wanted to highlight 2 slides around some resources, because I get asked a lot where people can find what readiness we're doing, CSP spotlight calls, where we post kind of up-and-coming training like this. So I just wanted to highlight some links, and you will get the slides after so you can get them. But first of all, has anyone here taken the CSP Get Licensing Ready exam? Hands up. Okay. I was expecting a little bit more, I'm not going to lie.
No, I'm a bit shocked there. I was hoping there'd be a bit more hands.
I was expecting a bit more. So for most of you will probably know Get Licensing Ready, especially if you work at a licensing provider. GetLicensingReady.com is kind of our exams for our MCP qualifications and our SAM exams, run by kind of licensing school over there, Paul and Louise, who update these regularly. They have created a CSP certification. So these are a series of short exams that lead to a certification at the end on the CSP program and the licensing behind it. So the aim is that we would like every one of our CSP partners to have a certain amount of CSP certificated people in their business so that you are kind of up to speed with the latest on CSP. Yes? How many? We haven't decided yet.
So I'm working with the PDMs at the moment. So for those that are managed, we are working to put a set requirement in place in your plans for a certain amount of accredited people. These aren't, terribly technical qualifications. They are a good base level knowledge. So it probably will be quite a large amount that you'll be required to pass.
It's not like a mandated effect, like it doesn't affect your CSP contracts. Like with an LSP, you have to have a certain amount of MCP qualified to be an LSP. But the aim is that these are really good starting blocks to make sure that your teams that are managing the CSP, from a purchasing perspective, a licensing perspective, this gives them the base level of knowledge they need to be able to support that and your customers as well. So they're just really good things to have. We do want all of our managed partners to have a certain amount of these. We're working with the PDM and the OCP team to work out how many maybe are required for each organisation. So just so you're not surprised by that, you might start getting that down. But by all means, if you want to get a head start, you can get your guys up and running on this. No, you don't need to go to exams, and it's not like you need to pay to go to get a qualification. It's basically you get the little certification at the end to say you have completed this, a little bit like what the MCP, but you don't pay for it. So they are free, which is the knowledge base. Okay? So that's Get Licensing Ready. And then the other thing is this slide on kind of Microsoft Commerce and the Modern Commerce white paper is on here. We do run CSP spotlight calls. Hands up who attends our CSP spotlight calls? lots better. So CSP Spotlight calls we obviously run through a monthly basis. Louise runs them for all updates that go on the CSP platform. There is also a lot of other licensing webinars we do. Azure Fundamentals, Dynamics, CSP Fundamentals. They're all on archive through this link here, and all up-and-coming ones are posted on there as well. Now, they are ones that are run through the US. However, we do have a lot of local things that we do as well. For example, we're running an education webinar up in the next month, which that's going to post on here as well. So you can't actually see the link, but there is an NPC link on here, but the captions are cut. But on the deck, there's a little link there to the Microsoft Partner Community, where we try and post all of our local events, and then also through the MPN newsletter that goes out to your organization. So trying to get more out there. Partner Skills Hub as well, which was on the first slide, is also where we will start putting all of our licensing readiness as well as all of the sales readiness that happens. So trying to make sure all of you are aware more around what we're doing and how you can get access to it. And then there's a couple of PAL resources on there as well, as we are talked about PAL a little bit today. Please do check them out if you need more information.